All right. Hey, and speaking of the Little Shop of Horrors and musicals that we love, here comes another musical that has some potential, as reported by Deadline. The Huey Lewis musical is
Right.
headed to Broadway. The Heart of Rock and Roll, a new musical featuring the hit songs of 80s superstar Huey Lewis and the News, is coming to Broadway this spring. So we've got The Outsiders, the musical, coming this spring, and now we've got Huey Lewis musical as well. Previews begin at the James Earl Jones Theatre. I didn't know he got his own theater.
When did that happen?
Where are the plans?
This is CNN.
Commander, tear the ship apart. I want the passengers. I don't want them alive.
I'm not even going to try one.
Anyway, the preview started March 29th, 2024, ahead of the opening, which is April 22nd. It's described as a, quote, raucous rom-com, end quote. Okay. I'm already still interested because they're not taking itself too seriously. You got that I think that's the danger with some musicals. It's like, which way are you going? Oh, John's interested too. I know John loved music.
Yeah. It just changed the whole complexion of this because, go ahead. I'll continue to, I'll ponder.
It includes songs such as The Power of Love, Working for a Living, Stuck with You, and If This Is It. Now, Kat and I saw Back to the Future, the musical, earlier this year.
Yeah.
And of course, that features a couple of Huey Lewis songs as they were in the film. And this is going to be, it's got to be a record, right? There's going to be 2 musicals on Broadway, both that feature The Power of Love as a song.
Yeah.
That's some kind of record. Yeah.
For the Marcus says you should have tried Kat, that you couldn't have been worse than John or
Than those two.
Oh, Marcus,
John.
your lack of faith disturbs me.
If this is an ambassadorship, where are the if this is a counselorship, where are the ambassadors? Per Huey Lewis, he said, quote, working on our show has been so gratifying. I've always been a storyteller, and it's a thrill to see my songs woven together in such a fantastic new story that it will all take place on the world's most prestigious stage, Broadway. It just makes that ride that much sweeter.
So here's where my brain went. So let me share with you.
Where'd your brain
I didn't
go?
know what to expect until you started talking about being a rom-com. And I'm like, oh my God, the Huey Lewis book has so many.
Oh, wait, what?
Stuck with You, Hip to Be Square. It's so lighthearted. It's so kind of like, like Stuck with You is probably the one that sticks out of my brain as emblematic of the way Huey Lewis songs treat relationships. It's like so pragmatic. It's like, it's you and me. We got our flaws and our foibles, but we're together, that kind of thing. And there's a thread of that runs through so many of those songs. And so like all of a sudden I'm like, now I can see a story shaping out of it. And before it was just a tribute show to Huey Lewis, and now I can see what you could do with it. That could be cool.
Yes. Oh. Yeah. I thought it was going to be a tribute too. Just like
yeah.
Yeah.
But the
story sounds good.
The producer, Hunter Arnold, added, Huey Lewis's song catalog is not just music. It's a powerful bridge to an era where our hearts danced freely. Love knew no bounds, and every moment was a celebration of life. This show is more than nostalgia. Hey, just like ours, just like our podcast.
That's right.
It is a remedy for our age of anxiety and a joyful gift to Broadway audiences. We could use that as our tagline. Hey, it's Will. Welcome back to another 80s. Let's say. More than nostalgia, it's a remedy for our age of anxiety and joyful gift to Broadway. All right, I've got to change that.
You're welcome.
Is that name taken for a podcast? We should just do that.
What, you're welcome?
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Casting and additional news will be announced at a later date. The Heart of Rock and Roll premiered at San Diego at the Old Globe in 2018, and I don't recall any of that. Anyway, I'm curious what you guys think, because we've seen a number of other what they call jukebox musicals, which are these musicals that are made up of essentially like this. It's a catalog. Generally, you take a catalog of music from one particular artist, and they thread a story through it, or they have a story and then they apply the music. It's happened many times. Mamma Mia is a really great example. The music of ABBA.
Okay.
Billy Joel had one. Queen. There's been, and not all these have made it to Broadway, but many of the acts, some of them tell the story of the artists themselves. They use the songs to do that, and others they tell different stories as well. I was wondering if there's any other pop star or rock star, one of your musicians that you care for, that you think their catalog would make a good musical.
Mm-hmm.
Other than Duran
Yeah.
Duran.
I was going to say, I think Duran Duran would make a terrible musical.
Oh!
Terrible.
Just take it off the
Twist!
table right away.
Yes,
What
yeah.
a twist.
Half the time, what is he even talking about? I don't think.
It reminds me when John was, we were talking about that. The poetry.
I love the music. I love the music, but
Yeah,
I don't think it would make a good story.
Mhm.
Yeah. Both of the ones that I was thinking of,
Mhm.
one of them's actually been done, and
Okay.
it's the type that you're talking about, which the one that I saw, I looked at some footage online. It's from 2006, and it was called Ring of Fire. So it was the story of Johnny
okay.
Cash.
Johnny
Mm.
Cash.
Because I think his music can tell the story of his life. He was a tortured guy who had his demons and that kind of thing.
Yes.
And though he never actually spent a lot of time in prison, he spent a lot of time with prisoners and that kind of thing. I think you could tell some interesting stories through his music in that. And that made me think of another one, which there was only a movie about, but they've never done. There's another legendary country artist that has had like 60 or some odd albums. Loretta Lynn has an interesting story.
Yeah.
Right.
How she was brought up poor, and she
Coal
pulled
miner's
herself
daughter.
up by her bootstraps. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one that I think. Now, if you want to do something like Huey Lewis thing, like you could pick anybody. I'd be most interested in seeing an artist's life through their music retold as one of these musicals. Really.
Mhm.
I'm really surprised Coal Miner's Daughter wasn't a musical yet. You
Yeah.
say you
I mean, it's a movie, but
yeah, right.
Could be.
yeah, I
could
looked
be.
and there's not one that I could find.
Wow.
I'm like, why not?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with
How about
Okay.
Dolly Parton? That would be a great musical.
I'd be
Yeah?
shocked there isn't one, but maybe
Yeah,
there isn't.
Ooh.
That almost feels too big to make, right? That's
Well,
like,
huge. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kat, come on now.
I'm talking about her musical catalog.
Thank you.
Gosh. Yeah. Karen says there's a Neil Diamond one right now.
Wow.
Oh.
That's a good choice. Marcus says Prince, Beatles, Bob Dylan, George Michael, Wham, Hall & Oates. Now, these are ones that exist, Marcus, or these are ones that you're suggesting? I think ones he's suggesting, right?
These are
It's his wish list.
Although I think there's a Bob Dylan one. I don't think there's
Oh.
any of the others. There's one based on Bob Dylan's music, but not.
Okay.
Karen also says Sting and the
There's
Police.
Karen. Mhm.
Yeah, what song would they use for Stuart Copeland choking Sting though?
That's just a musical version of Running Man. all the animosity between them.
Yes, he's running from his bandmates.
That's right.
Yeah, there's been
Oh.
musicals that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Marcus says they have big enough catalogs, musical catalogs,
Yes.
to
To
support
pull
a show.
stuff from, sure.
And
Yeah.
he's saying one that I thought of too, Bruce Springsteen. That's
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be a good one. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wouldn't the Police one just be like a burlesque, like with all of the overt sexuality in that music?
Yes.
How could it not be 21 or older for this show, ladies
Right.
and gentlemen?
I need to see.
There
some
will be
ID.
fluids on stage.
Oh
Thank you
gosh,
for your
splash
privilege.
zone. There's a splash zone.
Did you bring your
lift your
plastic?
tarp now? Yes.
It's like a Gallagher concert, but it's.
You may now lower your tarps. See, in addition to the ones I met, also Whitney Houston, Tina Turner, Miami Sound Machine, the Go-Go's, Michael Jackson, and Madonna have had their catalogs turned into musicals.
They have.
Miami Sound Machine, really? I didn't know.
Oh, yeah, it's On Your Feet. It's about Gloria Estefan and
How
her
cool!
husband coming together. It's
gosh.
really fantastic. If you have a chance, I don't know if it's still on tour or not, but really, really good.
That's so cool. I had no idea.
Biographical, yeah. I got a real offbeat choice. I always thought that the Waitresses, Chris Butler's music, he's so, I love their music. It's so differently assembled. And I think there's a story that could be created from there. They don't have many albums because, they didn't stay together for very long. And then Patty died early in the 1980s. I think it was early in the 1980s. But yeah, I think there's a through line that you could thread through it and would be really interesting. And you'd have a couple of well-known songs in there too.
So you're going more for the story part of it there, not so much a huge musical catalog, but
Well, I think you only need one album really, right? I mean, if you think of it, a musical, it's got maybe 12, 14 songs in it. Some, reprises or reprises. Reprise.
But they all got to be good enough to carry a number. Like not every song on every album is usually strong enough to be featured in a musical like that. I think that's why a lot of people are pointing out in the chat, people that have large libraries of music, because you can cherry pick the very best ones. Or if you have a certain plot twist in the story, there's probably a song for it. Whereas if you're pulling from one album, I'd be worried like the music in the album has to force the story so that the things fit, and it might not follow true to the story you're trying to tell.
Yeah.
Mhm. Good point. Good point.
And I think to some extent too, because Karen says David Lee Roth, Van Halen.
Yeah. Yeah. Kiss.
I'm wondering. I feel like I recall there's one of these types of jukebox musicals where the musician's still alive and available, so they write new music. So okay, we've got all these songs covered. I just read about this. I'll write 2 new songs to cover these things.
Is the problem with not having the right song in the catalog we were just talking about?
Yeah. So while Prince probably has enough, he's not around to write something else in the event you would.
But he's still putting out new albums. I mean,
oh yeah, he's
he hasn't stopped publishing.